All right, everybody. This is episode, I think it's 101 actually.
Really? No, I thought we're
Of,
past 100. You
I
sure?
don't know. I forget. We'll say it's 101, but it might not be. I thought I double checked the other day on YouTube and it said 100, but anyway. Yeah, dude. Fucking we haven't caught up in a couple months.
Yeah.
Everything's been busy. Summer pretty much got absolutely wrecked from lockdowns and stuff like that, so it's understandable. Plus, there was a lot going on. But yeah, it's good to be back chatting about Bitcoin, about macro stuff. Yeah, have you been, dude?
Good. You're right. This is a 101. No way.
I was right?
Yeah, you're right. I thought we passed. I knew we hit 100. I thought we passed through. I guess not.
Yeah.
I guess
we survived.
I remember we talked about 100 for quite a while.
Yeah.
now it's on to 1,000. It's only gonna be like 10x longer.
Dude, I think it took like 2 full years. I think one of our first recordings was December 2018.
Yeah, no, yeah. Our
And
first
now
was
we're-
like December,
now-
late November.
Yeah, no. Yeah, dude, a lot's happened in 2 years. Jesus, we've been talking about a lot of stuff, and it's a lot has happened in 2 years.
It's crazy how much has happened between now and then. Because end of 2018 was the bottom basically. That was when we hit 3,000. That was like the washout.
We
moment,
started
I felt
at
like.
the bottom.
Yeah, we started literally at the bottom of the washout phase, where we're just like, okay, here we are. Pilot episode 2 years ago. Let's see. No, it's over 2 years old. December 8th.
Yeah. Wow. Unbelievable. This one actually took
Unfucking-believable.
me a really long time to edit. I remember like I put so much time into editing. It was like the first
That's crazy.
video. I spent so much time on it. It was like such a waste of time. Now we just throw it on the screen record, do a couple things, and it makes life a lot easier.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely different. I mean, we started down here and you can see the screen.
And so we're up 500% pretty much since the day we started recording.
Yeah.
And I think that is one, it's unbelievable. I totally expected it. Probably when we were first recording, I'm like, yeah, the bear market's over, and then we're just gonna pump for the next year.
Did. I mean,
I guess
think
like
about
we kinda
2019,
did, but
and we talked about this. I didn't mean to cut you off there, but 2019,
No.
how it was the same effect we noticed. I mean, I know the alts didn't pump as much, but Bitcoin basically hit 14,000, and there was no, euphoria really. I mean, in the crypto sphere, in crypto Twitter land where it's a couple hundred people talking at most, yeah, there was euphoria, but nowhere else. You know what I mean? And I've seen a little bit this time, but it's different. We've been at basically 18 to 19 or basically 20K for 3 weeks now. It's been a while.
Yeah, I think it's actually been 3 full weeks with like being at or around
26 days pretty
19K.
much, something like that. It's been a while. I mean, we had a dump or two here, but really we've been up in here since mid-November.
Yeah, it's actually pretty surprising because in the entire month of October, and I was like in San Diego just for working remotely and stuff like that, hanging out there, and I was hanging out with my buddy who lives down there, and the price was ranging in that it had just popped back up to maybe 10K, 11K, and it was hanging out there all month. And the whole month we were like, yeah, man, maybe, 7K, we'll get a little dip here and, load up a little bit more. And then we went up 100% from there pretty much.
Yeah.
Very quickly. It's almost unbelievable how quickly that happened. And even I know like crypto Twitter and everybody in a very small circle of people is like pretty excited right now, but I still don't think in normie land anybody has a clue. So it's still pretty. It's super early in my opinion in terms of like FOMO. I have one coworker who's like has a little FOMO, but you can feel it when everybody's talking about it. I don't even think we're close to that yet.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I would say there is more institutional, larger money, net worth, higher net worth individual interests. Like I personally know someone now who recently bought like a substantial position in Bitcoin not too long ago, and obviously they did pretty well. Like they bought, in the September bottom area or something like that, and they even just buying spot, obviously you could imagine pretty well. And there's definitely more interest, and I guess as you would say, the Lindy effect, it's here to stay. It's like there's high net worth people who kind of they understand markets probably a little more because they have more time around that stuff than people who don't look at markets as much, and they like, okay, well, it's back at 20K or it's back at this price and it's not dead, So the interest level's there, and I think the end of December, see where we close this year. If we close this year above 20K, all bets are off to what 2021 will be with Bitcoin. And as they say, rising tide lifts all boats. So who knows what that means for shitcoin land? It could get very interesting to say the least.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It can get really interesting as soon as we start getting back over that new all-time high, in that 20K range, 21K, where 20K feels like support. And,
Yeah.
I don't know how long that takes. Whenever it happens, it feels like today it feels like we're so close to breaking 20K. It's like you just need one more push to
Yeah,
get
really.
over there.
It's,
But
yeah.
but at the same time, we went up so fast in like literally 30 days, just really took off
Yeah.
80%, 90%. So like I understand the thoughts around, you know, being cautious, a pullback, blah 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 blah. And I don't think Michael Saylor's convinced that we're going to get all that much of a pullback because he's getting ready to buy. Somebody did the math the other day. He's we can talk about this, but he's taken on another 650 million in debt, convertible bonds, and he's said flat out, I'm going to buy Bitcoin with 600 million of it. So like I don't think
Was it
he
600 or
should.
400 he bought?
So the original
Oh,
offer
the
was
original
for
600.
400, and then it
He
was
increased it.
oversubscribed pretty much
Shit.
because so many people want in on it.
Yeah.
So now it's up to 650 million. I think he's going to take 600 million, buy Bitcoin with it, and the interest rate that he owes is like 0.77%, and he has the option to. After 5 years, and notice he picked 5 years. I'm pretty sure it's 5 years to get himself over one more halving and one more bull cycle. Like his timing of when the bonds come due is brilliant. And I somebody did the math. As long as Bitcoin goes up at least 6% between now and 5 years from now, it was a smart move for him to do. So
Yeah.
it's like when you think about it that long term, it's like it feels like a sure thing, which is like famous last words, I guess, in this kind of stuff. But this kind of mentality of taking on debt to acquire like a better asset is just fascinating, and I think it begins to set that floor of like this is kind of where we are from here, right? There's new players in town who are curious about Bitcoin, who are interested. Mass Mutual bought $100 million worth. If you get this consistent kind of demand on more of a go forward basis, and this is just the beginning, I could see where it seems less likely that we're going to go down below 20K at whenever that time comes, just because it'll be bought up so quickly. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I mean, I just look at this. We're printing on the 2 week candles. We're just printing here. I mean, it's and again, and maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe we go down, but it feels much different that there's not FOMO and it's just staying there, and like people know. Like I just have this feeling that people know it's time to go through. That's the way I look at it at this point. I mean, and I hate to say it because there's been times where I've had more Bitcoin, but like it's ready to go. So I'm coming from an even more unbiased. I'm coming from a less biased position than you probably.
Yeah, absolutely. I've kind of I've been waiting for
No,
this.
I mean it's like you've been waiting for this a while. I mean this is
Yeah, it's been a totally different. I've decided it just wasn't worth me trying to trade this time it, do anything like that. It's been I'm not very good at it. I think more of my strengths are maybe identifying trends. I take a look at Bitcoin, I look at everything around me. I'm like, well, it seems like I want something that's it seems like it's the most scarce of things. I totally get wanting gold. I totally get wanting real estate. I totally get wanting to hold Bitcoin. So it's more like the most profitable thing I can do is probably just make as much money as I can and like buy as much Bitcoin as I can, like physically and mentally stomach, and just kind of go from there, right? Because if you save up enough and you think about Bitcoin as that long-term saving account, it's like, all right, you take a couple $100 here. It's like, all right, I'm not going to need this for 5 more years, 10 more years, boom, boom. And you're just, stacking sats. After a long enough period of time, we've been recording this podcast for 2 fucking years, and it was totally worth it because it kept me engaged, interested, learning, studying, shit posting, making memes, and like all of a sudden I acquired more Bitcoin than I thought I'd ever have, and it was just really normal and natural. Like I was just going to save that money anyway in cash. So to me, it ended up working out, and hopefully there's vindication, right? It's like, oh, we're so close to 1920K. If we could just pop over that. And everybody was like, "Oh, Bitcoin's cool again. It's not going to just die and roll over. Maybe there's something more to it." That would be awesome.
No, I would one thing I think everyone could say is that March craziness, when everything dumped, that would have been, if there was a time just to be buying spot like crazy, it was that week or two in the mid-March there, man. That was pretty much a trade of the year. When you think about it, for the most part, I don't think anything's performed that well. I mean, there's been a few stocks here and there, like I've seen Overstock or some altcoins that have outperformed Bitcoin, but from a more stable, liquid, long-term standpoint, I don't think there's a better investment from the bottom this year.
Yeah, I mean, and it seems like more of a no-brainer kind of thing. It's like, all right, if you're going to bet on the space, you just be like, I'll just buy some Bitcoin and hang on to it for a little bit. Like that's kind of all the tide lifts all boats. You might as well be in the biggest boat or whatever. Like I get the logic now that other people, even people who weren't even interested in Bitcoin, who are now hearing it starting to be more talked about. Oh, why are all these, brilliant macro investors starting to take a position? That's a little weird. And they try to think about it a little bit more, and they'll help them come to that conclusion much faster when smarter people around them are like buying in, right? People need that. They need to see people they respect jumping into that space before they might come to that conclusion on their own.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's one of those things where it's a conviction thing and kind of just understanding the history of money, things like that, and just I don't even know the nature of the situation. I mean, we can look around and say, since we started recording this podcast, things have gotten much shittier, I'd say. I mean, I can't, and same with you, cannot even just go out to, at least I can't go out to a bar right now and get a drink or go out somewhere to eat. Like, things are different for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Like, since we started recording this podcast, things have just gotten out of control. I mean, this is the exact environment you would think a Bitcoin, a gold, a owning real estate would thrive in,
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think it's showing how valuable, how useful it is. I think Bitcoin's usefulness will be so obvious over the next couple of years. And in hindsight, it'll be like, 2020, I really should have seen that coming. I totally get why you'd want to have the ability to have something that stores wealth or that is valuable, that's easy to, relatively easy to hang on to, not complicated in the sense that if you decide you want to just save in Bitcoin, it's like, all right, well, I'm just going to save a certain percentage. That's kind of it. You don't need to think about it if you're investing in other things. It becomes like kind of just an easy thing to end up doing. But I think I don't know. Once you kind of get over that, it all starts making a lot more sense, and it'll be a big driver into the narrative of 2021. Right now, the fact that people even say fiat on television is like a sign to me that we're heading in the right direction.
The virus is spreading.
In 2017, people didn't even say that.
Yeah.
And nobody said it, and now it's
things have
really
changed.
Really common to talk about. So I think it just in hindsight it'll be very, very obvious that you're going to want to hang on to something scarce, and for young people, like if you're you, right, let's say you bank 100K or whatever over the next year, and you're like, all right, I want to store that wealth somewhere. You might want to buy some real estate, right? That seems like an obvious thing. It's like, oh yeah, let me buy some land or a nice house or a property in a desirable location, and I'm going to park that there. But the difference is, for me, I'd need to make so much in order to put enough money down to be able to afford a place that's like a really nice place. These mortgages are a lot on $1 million home.
Yeah.
You need a significant amount of income. So once you convince yourself that maybe I don't actually want to do that, like the easiest thing you can end up buying is just Bitcoin. And I think
No,
that narrative will just change eventually. Like it seems crazy, insane to the average person to be like, you want me to save my wealth into what? Like you want me to take
yeah.
10%, 20% and put it where? But I think in hindsight, it'll just be really obvious. Like that's just honestly the easiest
It's easy
thing
and it's
that,
liquid.
oh, it's super liquid, dude.
People
You
don't
can sell
you
as
can
much
sell
as you want
anytime.
from your cell phone in the streets of like Turkey if you need to get rid of something. Like it's liquid 24/7, 365. Doesn't care about bank closures, nothing like that. There's liquidity in almost every single other currency. Also, like if you're in a pinch and you're in a different country, and you have a little Bitcoin on your wallet and you need to get cash, you almost can now in the worst cases of scenarios.
Yeah.
But that 24/7 liquidity is just it's different than all other assets, and I just think that it's super useful to have that.
Yeah, and
It's really useful.
and onto your house point, people don't even think about this. Is like when you buy a house or something and you're gonna go live in it, like the amount of money you're gonna have to spend on just other stuff people don't think about, whether it's like utilities, you come in, and I'm not saying you don't pay utilities, but like just on bigger homes, stuff like that, utilities. Then you start talking about furnishing stuff, things that are broken. When you talk about plumbing, just little fixing things. Your down payment, then just add another down payment because that's what you're gonna probably put into the house after.
And here's the thing about real estate that people don't think about and what makes it so different than Bitcoin. And Michael Saylor did a great job of convincing me of this. I was actually every Bitcoiner is fucking around on Trulia right now looking at properties in Texas or other places like, if I need to set up shop in Wyoming or Texas or whatever, if shit hits the fan, yeah, let me check out some $1 million, $2 million places. The property taxes on like a $2 million property in Austin, Texas, with like a decent amount of land, it was like $4,000 a month in property taxes. So you're buying this asset to store wealth, but then at the same time it's bleeding because you have to pay $4,000 a month just for the right to own it because it's an IOU to the state, pretty much,
People
right?
don't think about that. That's a perfect
Dude,
example of property taxes. That was one thing I forgot to mention.
So yeah, it's like there's the maintenance of like the cost
If
to
it's
like use the home, that's fine,
in
but
nice
the
areas, dude, you're getting
yeah,
oh, dude, it's just eye gouging.
even in like New Jersey, you have like a $1 million place. It's like $25,000 a year in property taxes. It's significant to the point where I might as well not own it because if you have enough money and you're buying expensive shit, but it costs you a lot just to maintain it, it's bleeding all the wealth out of it, right? Because you're going to end up paying it all out in property taxes. So unless you have a significant income and it's like you just want to be able to live like that, which is totally cool, I think eventually more people come to the conclusion that like that almost doesn't make sense. If you have a budget of say $3,000, $2,000 a month for like your a roof over your head, expenses, utilities, or whatever, and you've accumulated enough wealth, you might just want to keep that wealth in Bitcoin because it's tax deferred. You're not going to owe on it until you get rid of it for something, and you don't have to pay annually to hold it like you do with property. So like it's allowing you to defer all those taxes to the future. So then if in 5 years or 10 years you want to do something with it, you can sell as much as you need, be able to pay the capital gains tax, and then you can deploy it. But if you were to do it up front and you're just like accumulating little properties or whatever, you're just accumulating all these tax liabilities every fucking month, and it's draining the whole store of value out of it because you owe the tax every year.
Yeah, I was going to add on to that. It's one thing, just people do not think about that aspect of just the property taxes. And I was going to mention on top that the having income, because obviously if you get to a certain net worth, like tens and tens of millions, as long as you're not stupid with your money, you'll be fine. If you can make 5% a year, you're fine. And obviously it's tougher than it used to be when you had higher interest rates. You get a good bond and you get 4 or 5%, and that's
Yeah, you could save $1 million, and dude, Saylor talks about this. You could save $1 million, earn 5% on it, and live a very frugal but meaningful existence on
Yes.
50 grand a year, right? And his point was you could do that 10 years ago. Like that wasn't that long ago, and now the cost of the same bond is like 5 times as much as it was before, or 10 times. So or no. It was more than that. I think he said you need to put now a $20 million bond will give you $50,000 instead of $1 million bond.
That's
So like
insane.
that's the real inflation. Like the cost of an annuity or a bond that pays you. You need to have so much more capital to get that same amount, and that's why everything sucks pretty much because you could work hard.
Money is free.
Yeah, you could work hard, accumulate $1 million, and live off the interest.
Wait, we didn't even talk about this, dude. When we started the podcast, at least the government wasn't giving out free money left and right. I mean, this year has been a tragic flaw of free stimulus money to people and to businesses, and the PPP thing was just full of fraud. I mean, people left and right just getting loans of hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, and just scamming the government basically because the government doesn't do any due diligence. I mean, and I know it sounds tragic when you say we shouldn't give them free money, but if you understand like the history of money, if you understand sound money, you just can't do that. It's devaluing the currency you have in your pocket. It's devaluing the money you have in your bank account. Like we were talking about something I think I'm pretty sure, or maybe it was someone else I was talking with. Like the value of stocks has only just went up basically with the monetary base for the last decade, for the most part. Obviously, there's ones that have outperformed. There's stocks that have went up 30, 40 times since the financial crisis. But for the most part, when you look at like indices or whatever, they've tracked like the expansion of the money supply.
Exactly right. Just leaving your money in the market, and in those index funds, like you're basically just keeping up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then you owe tax on the gains, which is the funny part. So it's like almost net negative, even though I guess you'd rather have your wealth appreciate. With the rate of inflation or expansion of the money supply, but
versus getting wrecked.
Yeah, but that's where it's like, you need to have hindsight with that kind of stuff. It's like, oh yeah, now in 2012 I should have just been buying Apple the whole time, or Google or Amazon or whatever. It was hard to see at the time, I guess, unless you're Michael Saylor or like a brilliant tech investor. But in hindsight, it's really obvious. And honestly, Bitcoin's going to be no different. It'll be super obvious in hindsight. It's going to be too useful. Everyone's going to understand the arguments. They'll be able to convince themselves why it's so good. Because when numbers go up, people want to buy it and make money. The whole, get rich quick, blah, blah, blah. It's very enticing. The number go up technology is, it sells itself. It really does.
Yeah, no, it's quite incredible to see this. And then again, Apple's an example of a stock that's just outperformed. It's up 44 times from the financial crisis lows. So it's, quite impressive, feat. But again, how much more can a company at $2 trillion expand? For it to double, it has to go to $4 trillion now. People don't think about that. It's getting insane.
And especially if the expectation is, 2 trillion. It's unbelievable.
Over, dude. And we just act like, okay. See, the problem is we say 2 trillion. No, it's 2.081 trillion. It's 2,081 billion. That's the problem. We've gotten to the point where we just discard the last 81 billion. We're like 2 trillion, and it's another $81 billion, dude. That's insane. Right.
It is, and even just a year ago, I remember it's like, man, you're getting close to the first $1 trillion
Can't go
companies,
higher.
And you almost didn't think it's like that can't do all that much, and it did. It just really kept going. It's extraordinary. But I think now that people are tossing around trillions and it's not that big of a deal anymore, which is absolutely absurd. That it's not weird to throw around trillions. Is that it just leaves so much room on the table, I think, for other things to grow as well. Like Bitcoin being one of them. Obviously, it won't be. It sounds insane now to talk about it as a $400 billion asset, but I guess in another 5 years it won't be that crazy when it's a $1 trillion plus asset. But it sounds crazy now, but it's everything's a trillion.
Crazy
now.
Speculative thought. We've printed 6 green 2-week candles since last year. There wasn't one red green or 2-month candle. Excuse me. Look at that. Even that dump. Look at that. Like once that happened, it was like, oh shit. Remember that? That close.
I remember the day.
We were just like, fuck. Insane. It's like what? Because I mean, it was it was the end of the world. Everything puked, and I mean,
yeah. When was the last time that happened?
They printed 8. Yeah, I printed 8 from September 2016 up to there. So I mean, even if you print 2 more candles, that's 4 months from here, and you still have 18 days left here. I mean, I'm just going to speculate here, but I mean that could be the 30K push.
Now,
easy.
I think there's something else to talk about. How many 2-month green candles were there in that summer of 2016 leading up to 2017?
Not much. It really wasn't. Look, so it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red candle, and then it's here where you get it. You get it from September 2016 onwards.
Mm.
So you can see, like you see that close there. That was pretty much it. Seeing the March.
Yeah.
And the next candle's big,
Right. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, no, it's quite incredible, and I'm more speculative, but yeah, it's going to get interesting here. I think even just watching like the 6-month close, like you're going to be, that's pretty fucking bullish. I don't know how else to put it right there, especially if at the end of the year, if we close on December 31st. At 7 p.m. Eastern time, at, above 20K, that's going to be like retarded bullish. That's the only word I can use that comes to mind right now. I mean, it's going to look pretty ridiculous to say the least.
Yeah, I guess we've got a little over 2 more weeks to kind of let things play out, and Saylor's buying $600 million worth in the next couple of weeks. I'm sure he's going to do whatever he can to squeeze that in. And the weird thing about that is everybody knows about it, so you're free to speculate on that information. It's public, that this guy is buying another 600 million worth, and you have the opportunity to kind of do whatever you want with that information. I decided to stack a little bit of sats. That seemed like a reasonable thing to do, but I just fear that this gets more consistent, and we're in the first quarter of 2021. You're getting another MicroStrategy announcement, either taking out more debt or, well, it's that time of the quarter again. We're sweeping our excess operating cash that we don't need anymore. We're going to buy X amount of Bitcoin to move it onto our treasury. All of a sudden, the narrative continues. Oh, we've got this entity who's going to be doing multi-million dollar DCAs on a quarterly basis and potentially issuing more debt consistently. That starts to build into the whole narrative that continues the push and the momentum forward, in my opinion.
Yeah, we're due for interesting times. And again, when you look at, I always like to look at the breakout in 2016. It took a while. Like I think I told you the other day, it took like 70 days once it kind of touched the top. I mean, it took 70, and even then, you went up above, dumped back down below the former 2014 or end of 2013 top, and then and again, right there from 1300 down to high 800s. I mean, that's a 25% pullback. That's a lot. They're well over that 30%. I mean, so. And I'm playing hypothetical here. I mean, if let's say when 25K, it could pull back to 17K for all you know, and people will be fucking losing their minds. Pardon my language, but I mean that would be a major pullback. It'd be $8,000 pullback. And imagine someone buys 1 Bitcoin, now they're down $8,000 on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the round numbers, especially as you're above 20,000, and like just in the last 24 hours, we saw like a $1,000 swing in one direction upwards. And like nobody cared, nobody said anything, because on a percentage basis, it's not that much anymore. So, people are calling $1,000 swings. It's so volatile and this and that. It's just getting bigger, and the absolute dollar amount moves will make headlines, but on a percentage basis, it might not be all that crazy. And on the flip side, as Bitcoin grows, and those instances where you do get, say, 10% pullbacks now, 15% pullbacks, maybe even a 20% pullback. A 20% pullback from 50K, only people who were around in 2017 will have hands strong enough to kind of deal with that. In my opinion, even I'll probably be going fucking nuts, like mentally, like watching the pullback from like 50K to something, to go from a 50K to a 40K or to a 30K. It's like
people have no clue. I don't mean to cut you off, but people like, even though I was somebody like people at my place the other night, and somebody had was betting on a basketball game and he lost, and it was like, and we asked what his wager was, and it was like $15, and I was like, you have no clue. You have no clue. Because people, I mean. Like a lot of people, when you have like serious money, or you put a lot of eggs in a basket and you have it on the line, it's a whole nother, I mean, even the fucking March from 10,300, in 2 weeks to 36, 35. I mean, that was ridiculous. Like, it just went. I mean, and it was all like the one day we dropped basically 40%. They're well over. It might have been a 50%. Yeah. Because it basically carried into the next day. So, I mean, it was a 50% swing in 24 hours.
Yeah. In 24 hours, it was, I believe it did drop
in
that, like a rolling 24-hour period.
Yeah, it wasn't a single daily candle, but it was...
but that's what I mean. And it took so long in 2017, and I hope I try not to get overly excited about the price being so close to 20K right now, because you do have to remember it took a while last time. Just as you said, it took between 60 and 80 days of just roughing it, or sloshing around that all-time high and pulling back double-digit percentages. Yeah, and the one thing I wanted to add there is that
a lot of chop.
the longer it takes, the better for everybody, right? It gives everybody a chance to, now's your chance. You want to accumulate more. You have maybe have a couple more weeks to do what you want to do, make some changes, give it some more thought, and it allows
people
for
dumping their whole
power.
Christmas bonus in.
Yeah, and it allows for. It allows for a nice shakeout of people who are not strong hands, because I'd prefer there were more strong hands in this than weak. Like, I want people who are ready to hold this shit for another couple of years, and the longer it takes, I think the more powerful the break will end up being. You don't want to go up too fast, just like, as much as I'd love to just jump to 100K tomorrow, it's just that's not going to end up being all that helpful, right? You need to build support, you need to pick up steam, you need to build up momentum, build some strength, get the community behind it, more people rallying behind it. Then it feels like you're really heading in the right direction. But if it's just speculative pump and dump, and we just pump, then it's it's not that it's not for nothing, but I'd prefer a more solid foundation.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. And that's what I was saying. The big difference between this and 2017, 2017, we were only there for like a day. It was over. I mean, like, that whole period was volatile. I mean, like, I even remember that it was the 17th, when we topped at basically, 19.5 or whatever, 19.6, where we puked over the next, few days all the way. We puked for like a week straight, dude, down to 11K. That was ridiculous. And Bitcoin never even reclaimed the high, but that was when it was basically like a 2-week period to 3-week period where every altcoin just was going off. And it was like the ERC20 tokens were going off all together, and then like certain private coins were going off. I mean, it was it was interesting to see how different uniform coins were just going off, and it was ridiculous. And, some went off maybe in late December, and others didn't happen until the first week of January. And it was interesting to see, because they talk about it in equity markets rotation, and that was basically what you saw. It was people rotating from Bitcoin into shit coins, because it never reclaimed that high, but the shit coins pumped to unbelievable highs from there. And obviously people offload into Tether or into dollars and other fiat currencies, but there are people obviously offloading into crypto for the purpose of whatever.
That it's actually a good point to talk about. Is there's a big difference.
You're cutting out, by the way.
2017 and can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. You just repeat the last 20 seconds, whatever, when you just started. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. One of the biggest differences between 2017 and now 2020 going into 2021 is that you're right. In January, you had a lot of profit taking, kind of out of Bitcoin into altcoins, and the stable coins and Tether and all that stuff was like still on the smaller side back then, single digit billions. Now you have $25 billion worth of stable coins, and Bitcoin has shifted from not being as much of the reserve asset in altcoin trading land, but Tether is doing a good job of picking up steam there. And, one could say like, oh, that's bearish for Bitcoin. It's like losing its reserve status in the altcoin space. But I think the reality is like stable coins are good for traders. They want that kind of unit of account that they can utilize, and if they want to save some in Bitcoin, they can do that too. But the mental costs are probably easier when you have stable coins involved. And I think as stablecoins play out, and even if people anticipate that the riskiness of stablecoins is going up and increasing, then maybe Bitcoin gets some of that reserve status back. Like it's like, well, if I really want to hold something safe, I'll hold Bitcoin. So I think that's a big difference this time around from 2017 to now. So as we go forward, I think stablecoins will keep growing, and that kind of profit taking and all that stuff will kind of Bitcoin might be a little bit more insulated from that. I hope.
So I thought it was interesting. Tether's now, it's 4. I knew it was high up in the market cap, but it's number 4 now, and it's soon to probably take over XRP or Ripple, yeah. And then probably Ethereum eventually too, I imagine. Unless you start moving, I imagine it'll take. And I even thought, and the speculative once it would have been overtook the Bitcoin market cap.
Yeah, that would be a absolutely insane. But I think it's important, and the one thing to be worried about is I can totally see there being $100 billion worth of stablecoins by the end of this, because it's just fiat that's saying I want to be in this ecosystem. They're sending, if anybody knows anything about just trading in the space, from sending wire transfers to exchanges, getting access to stablecoins, using that to send to other exchanges, they're useful. Like they have some use in that space.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but this is like the Federal Reserve or other central bank balance sheets. Look at this since March and April. Look at that.
Yep.
You can't say there isn't a correlation in the price of Bitcoin and altcoins.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think
look at that.
Like
That's insane.
Even it's absurd, and it's you can see the how the money is flowing into the asset class, like literally as it's being printed, right? And it's going right into the ecosystem. So it's to me it all makes sense. As Tether grows, as
this isn't like sanctioned or whatever, or like what I mean, like.
Well, my fear is that if Tether gets to $100 billion worth, like total market cap, more questions like
a lot of questions
space,
which
dude, like
it's a 20 billion market cap. That's a lot.
No, it's a lot. So once it starts getting really big, my only concern is more that there's just more eyes on it because it's so big at that point. But I'm hoping that stable coins, and this is kind of the conclusion I'm starting to come to, stable coins and Bitcoin will just end up being so useful that it will just like be allowed to continue for kind of longer than we think.
Yeah.
It's just too useful. And JP Morgan wants to have their own coin, Gemini coin. I mean, like, there's going to be such an obvious market for this. It's like, oh, this is clearly working. It's growing. Let's look into this. How can we digitize the money, integrate it into wallets, create a new industry? There's just going to be so much capital flowing into that I think, as fearful as I can get with this kind of stuff, and with FUD and banning and regulation and all that bullshit, I ultimately think there's going to be just too much money to be made, and it's too useful. It's already useful. All that $20 billion worth of Tether, it's literally just for speculation at this point, and that's perfectly fine. It's the use cases are building. It needs to financialize before it can be anything useful to you and me besides fucking holding it and hoping that it be.
Yeah, I was gonna say Tether is 19.7 billion, and then you got USD coin, which is 3.3 billion. So you got 23 billion in stablecoins there, and then I looked down the list, and there's one that's just shy of $1 billion. So I mean, there's probably close to 26-27 billion dollars at least of stablecoins,
Yeah.
if not more. I'm just pulling that off the top coins, because as soon as I go down, they're going to get to the hundreds of millions. Obviously take longer, but so I'd say probably stablecoins wise, there's at least 25-26 billion, which is pretty insane, because that think about that, market cap could 10x, and that's only 250 billion. So, it could go a long way from here.
Right. Right. Yeah, and I think they're honestly, I don't think stablecoins compete with Bitcoin all that much. I think they're all part of the same ecosystem. They're super useful. I personally don't use them, but I know that they're useful from a trading standpoint, and for
regulatory, for exchanges that don't want to have to dealing with fiat banks as much or whatever, or certain banks that won't deal with them. It gives them an option to have a trading pair.
Right. It's just
instead of having something traded, because like a lot of altcoins will trade against Bitcoin or trade against Ethereum, depending on what the ERC20 tokens will. So it gives it a pair. So it gives Bitcoin, you have Bitcoin Tether USDT, which is Tether. You'll have Ethereum USDT, XRP USDT, and you'll see it a lot. Like I think Binance, I'm pretty sure the futures trade in USDT. I could be wrong, but I
think you're right.
So it's just it's needed in this ecosystem, and I don't think it was a thing. Well, I guess we could look at Tether's history. Tether's been around since 20.
It's always been a thing, but even don't you remember in 2017, like a lot of Tether FUD? Like I remember being afraid to use it. I'm like, this thing's gonna blow up.
Yeah, we all thought it was gonna blow up.
How do I know? And blah blah blah.
Oh, I remember Tether FUD was a big thing. I remember.
Yeah. So, and now it's becoming more normalized that it's pretty, it's useful, and it's surprising how useful it is.
Who's the person who gets to print this Tether? They gotta be fucking rich as fuck. I'm sorry. You want to talk about someone who's just made a killing? They just get tethers and they just print them and then just trade them for dollars, because there's the US dollar USDT pair on exchanges, the fiat. So you can literally send your tether to like certain exchanges will have US dollar versus USDT, or the euro versus USDT. It's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, that is weird.
Stable versus stable.
That's why
not really stable, but you get my point.
Yeah, stable coins are inherently unstable. We've seen them trade to a premium and at a discount, deep discounts at certain times.
Dude, you remember?
Yeah,
132. And I remember. Yeah. I even remember there was this one over here. In 20, was it 20? Yeah, in April. No.
Yeah.
There was another one where really, maybe I was around then, but there was another one I remember where someone was talking about, there was a swing. It swung like 10% down or something. That might have been it there.
Yeah.
And they literally bought it and wrote it back up to $1 because it always goes back to $1.
Yeah, it is pretty insane.
Yeah. So this is going to be an interesting next year. That's all I know. Like geopolitically, markets wise, just broad based, whether we're talking foreign currencies or foreign exchange, whatever you want to say, or commodities, which I mean, like we've talked about before, lumber futures in the past. Like this year was ridiculous. I can find lumber futures. There we go. I mean, it's ripping again. I haven't looked at the chart in a few weeks, but holy shit, dude! You know what I mean? Like, lumber went up basically like 400% this year, or 300%. In a very short amount of time, and even now in the last basically month, it's pumped, or more than that, 2 months, it's pumped hard. Obviously, 60%, dude. That's absurd.
Yeah. Yeah, markets are going wild for anything that's scarce, right? It's the lumber markets have been an interesting thing to watch as the expansion of the money supply and the Fed balance sheet has continued, and even just economically speaking, it's crazy that the price of lumber is going up, but people are restricted in certain states from even like building anything or working and doing stuff. So it's like this struggle of supply and demand between areas of the world where production can continue and there's things are going back to normal. And then not having that in certain areas makes the whole thing just really complicated, especially when it comes to the price of goods.
No, we've hit an interesting time, especially like now more than ever. Like international business, not that it's happening, but like people can't travel. This has made things really weird. Like there's no business travel anymore. There's no seminars. There's no whatever trade shows. There's nothing. There's no, everything's online. You don't even. Well, there's people buy companies and they never meet the owners. They never meet never even go to the job site. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, a lot has changed in a very short period of time, and I think some of it's here to stay, some of it's not. Like it'll totally go back to normal. I've almost find it hard to believe going and doing shit in public so much fun. Like even just like the simple thing of going to eat inside,
going to a restaurant.
Like just the conferences just. It sounds weird. I've been doing a lot of virtual conferences at work. They're fine. I'm happy to attend. It is what it is. It's actually more efficient from like me getting the information I need to know standpoint. The problem is in person, in real life conferences are awesome. It's fun to network and connect with people, and especially Bitcoin conferences, dude. Like when I went to Bitcoin 2019, I had an absolute blast. Great people to meet. It's fun, speculating on this stuff, talking about Bitcoin, talking about macro, just, very philosophical shit. You can like only feel comfortable doing in person. That's not gonna go away. People are social, they want to do that kind of stuff. I don't see that.
We are social beings. I pulled up the Tesla chart because again, this is just an example of the ridiculousness of this year. It pulled back 63% and then has went up 850% since that bottom.
Yeah, that's insane.
Elon Musk is about to have $1 trillion company. I mean, it's a $578 billion company that makes less than 1% of the world's cars.
Yep.
I'm almost positive it's less than 1%. And again, this is where like things are just getting wacky in markets. Like Tesla's going far beyond anyone could ever dreamed. What was it? Kathy Woods. What was her target? Her target was something ridiculous.
I think it's like 4,000 or something.
And so Tesla did the share split. What was it? 5 for 1. So Tesla would be over 3,000 now. It'd be 3,100 almost.
Yeah, she
was right.
Calling it. Yeah,
she was right. It just doesn't stop. It just doesn't stop.
Yeah, I think Tesla's so interesting. Just with, you can see where capital is flowing as as it looks for the places where it thinks it would be most productive. And the I don't know if it's the crazy part, but it seems like all of a sudden, Tesla's like your store of value. It's like, oh, they're doing cool stuff. Like, might as well buy that. And it really isn't that much more complicated of an investment than that. The flip side is though, this expectation of absolutely taking over the transportation space, which is like it's so early for you to call it now, and just say, oh, it's like they make less than 1% of the world's cars, even on an annual basis. Do you really expect them to start producing that much more? And it's like, well, I mean, I guess anything's possible. It just seems like it's mispriced today because it's hard to see that happening, right? Like as of today, but not saying it's not possible, but it seems like there's just so much dislocations from money printer go burr and everything else. Like there's just almost too much wackiness with a lot of stuff.
Yeah, no, I agree, and it'll be interesting. I mean, if this monthly candle closes the doji, I would say watch out, but that's 18 days away. I'm not going to speculate on that. I'm just saying, it's all thin air. I mean, these people are buying at these ridiculous prices on companies. Like, you're buying Tesla at $580 billion market cap. A double is over $1 trillion company. So, like, in order for you to even see I know 4 times your money is a lot, but that's $2 trillion. This becomes a $2 trillion company, or becomes a $2.15 trillion company. That's just insane. That's ludicrous. But again, I could be wrong because we're printing like soon to be Weimar Republic levels, and so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Tesla goes to 4,000 with the share split, which would make it a $20,000 stock before the share split. And Kathy Woods is right. I don't know. I at this point, like, I think you and I've learned anything is possible.
Right. And it's so hard because it's like anything is possible, and especially with just the easy money. Just easy money allows for all kinds of craziness to happen, and it's almost like I cross my fingers and hope that as much of it goes in the right direction as possible to entrepreneurs who are doing productive things and really trying to help out and make this planet a better place. But a lot of the times it's fucking sent to rent-seeking businesses that aren't super productive and not making life any easier on anybody. So that's why I'm glad to see so much money going into Tether, because I think that's my proxy of so much money going into Bitcoin. And I want that to go up because I think that has the most impact on everyone for sure, since money is like the foundation of how society kind of builds and goes up. And it sounds like kind of heady, but it's like super basic 101 shit. In order for any of this stuff around us to exist, you need something to be able to trade for other stuff so you can make stuff, and that's money, right? You need that third good. You need a good money. It's very fucking useful. And if we're about to have a better one, I mean, greener blue skies ahead, man, for sure.
Yeah, no, it's just getting ridiculous. I'm trying to play this. The crypto market cap is now, per CoinGecko, like 570 billion, so we're getting close to the former high.
Yeah, it'll be crazy when the total
it's
market
smaller,
cap hits $1 trillion for the
crypto,
first time.
Wait, holy shit! The crypto market cap and Tesla are the same size. Oh my god, that's ridiculous.
Interesting. Yeah,
that is hilarious. Maybe they'll both go to 10 trillion.
that would be something.
Yeah,
that would be something.
Our purchasing power would be absolute dog shit, though.
Yeah, money won't be all that. Well, I don't know anymore.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, one of the biggest issues, and I meant to touch on this earlier, is like the propaganda these days of free money, and that, like, free everything, and people don't take in the consequences. Like, there's no such thing as a free lunch, and that so much applies with free, with sound money. If you don't understand it, basically, like, printing money is only devaluing your currency. When you're giving free money out, the reason they're giving people the $600, the $1,200 stimulus checks is to, like, make them happy so they can go print trillions of dollars, bail out companies to the tunes of trillions, not just billions this time, bailing out companies to the tune of trillions of dollars. You know what I mean? It's insane. And they're all doing it. That's why they're, giving out 600. And people think, oh, they're printing money to help poor people. No, all it's doing is destroying or disenfranchising, whatever way you want to put it, the middle class, just making poor people less wealthy because their currency is getting worthless, and wealthy people who own assets. And I'm not against owning wealth. Obviously, we aren't here. We are very much, go try to make as much money as you can type people. But my point is, like, the ultra, the Bill Gates, the Jeff Bezos of the world, the Tim Cook, where they're just, it doesn't matter. I mean, their network just keeps going up because printer go burr and stonks only go up.
Yeah, it's just a perfect example of the Cantillon effect and being closer to the money spigot. The closer you are, you're getting discounted, extended credit at a deep discount compared to what the average person can borrow at. Makes it a lot easier to accumulate even more capital. And it's funny because those same folks are also so adamant about helping the most impoverished, and they can't really see the most obvious thing. But as shitty as that is, I think number go up helps fix that, right? I hope it draws some attention to you start walking down the rabbit hole when Bitcoin goes up in price and you have questions and you're curious. It's like, well, why is that going up in price? Like I heard about it in 2013, 2017, thought it was going away. You question that a little bit more, and you find out this narrative of digital gold is taking over, and people are starting to believe that it's scarce, right? You and I know that it's scarce, but it takes a little bit of a mental leap to get over the fact that something could be both digital and scarce at the same time. And once that starts to click, I think the veil, like the tide will go out and the emperor will have no clothes with like the whole inflation and money printing. Like it'll be a lot more obvious that that's not as helpful as people make it sound when they're talking about printing the money and handing it out.
And I was going to say what we should do, and I was just thinking about this when you were speaking, was we should go through the Bitcoin standard and just go through even just the prior to Bitcoin stuff, all the history of money. We should just read excerpts from it and kind of go over it. I think that'd be good for an episode or even a couple episodes. We could do it by chapter or whatever. It'd be a good thing. I think it would make for good content. But I was going to add on to that. It's like they're really, people do not think about the consequence of printing money. And like you and I know I'm a little younger than you, but I know like things are more expensive now in 2020 than they were when I was a kid, in the 2000s. I just know they are. Like whether you're talking about candy bars, soda, water bottles, bag of chips, meat, you name it, sandwiches. Like if you get a Jimmy John's receipt from 10 years ago, the sandwich is cheaper. There's just no, I guarantee it.
Right.
Like, and $5 footlongs from Subway don't exist anymore. Like you get.
Oh my God, that's true.
Like it, it's everywhere. Or you go to a McDonald's, you name it, dude. Everything's going up in price.
Yeah, no, it's a really good point. It's a good point.
Yeah.
That's probably a good way to wrap it up, dude. We talked about a lot. It was a good way to come back strong, dude, after a couple months not catching up about it. But yeah, I mean, we still have so much to talk about. A lot's happened. We'll jump into a lot of this stuff in more detail. Yeah, plenty to talk about. It's going to be an exciting times.
Yeah, and if anyone, I don't know if I already did I apologize to anyone who listened if we hadn't recorded. Obviously you said you were out of town for like a month, and I had been moving around, so it just hadn't worked out. But we'll get back on track here today. I don't know how many listeners there are. Might be 30, might be 40, but we will be recording more podcasts. Okay, and things should get interesting soon, no matter what. So.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for checking
out the podcast. Episode 101.
Yeah, like and subscribe. You remember all that stuff. Send us a DM. Let us know what you want us to talk about. We appreciate the listens. Share it with your friends and family if you think this will be useful. But definitely the most important thing you could do is like, subscribe, leave a review. It definitely helps out. All right, have a good one. Peace.